Hey guys, welcome back to the Pruning Podcast. I'm your host, Ataya Smith, and welcome back for another episode, guys. I'm so excited for this episode because we have Pastor Regan and Wendy on the podcast.
Woohoo! We're so happy to be here.
I'm so happy y'all are here. Welcome back to the podcast, Pastor Wendy, and welcome to the podcast, Pastor Regan.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited to have y'all both on here. I've been wanting y'all both on here ever since I had you, but then you had a baby, and then life just got crazy.
It's been crazy.
But yeah, it's going to be such a good episode. I am so excited for this episode. And I kind of prepared y'all for this question. You answered it before, but can you answer it again?
Yes.
But what is something that the Lord is currently pruning you on?
Yes.
It's a great question.
Go for it.
I would say something that we talk about regularly, or that Wendy will check on me on, because I brought it up before, is being that I'll speak publicly a decent bit, that if I'm not careful, a lot of my personal devotion time is all preparation for whether that be some type of curriculum, whether that be some type of message or whatever. And so I think something that God's been pruning me on probably the last few years is that just continuously reminding me that my personal time with him is just my personal time with him, and keeping those kind of things in a sense separated. A lot of times they do mesh together.
Yeah.
But if it does mesh together, that the goal would be that my public life would stem from my private life.
Yeah.
And not my private life only looking like certain things because God's using me publicly in some regard.
Yeah.
And so for me, I write a lot of messages and do a lot of things like that. But for anybody, though, it would just be, I guess it would translate to whatever God's going to use you for publicly should all stem from what he's doing in your heart privately.
Yeah.
And what he's speaking to me on. So I would say that, just that mindset and that mentality, and keeping those kind of things on the front of my mind regularly would be something.
Yeah, that's really good.
For me, funny enough, I think I was pregnant the last time I was here.
You were.
Now I have a baby. She is about to be 9 months, and it's been a true joy. But I think the biggest thing for me has been just truly surrendering in the Lord. I had a lot of postpartum anxiety in regards to being home alone with the baby, and just the worst things would come to mind of what if I can't get her to stop crying, or what if something goes wrong, kind of thing. And I think one of the biggest thing that the Lord has been dealing with me in, and just calling me to trust him in, is that whether my husband is home or my mom's there to help me, he's always with me. And just giving me that peace beyond understanding, giving me that even just boldness and confidence as a mom, that he has called me to be a mom, and that he's going to be with me no matter what. So I think that's one of the biggest things he's really been working in me as a mom is, I'm going to be with you. Surrender that. Trust me. Trust that I've called you for such a time as this to be her mom. And I'm going to equip you, to do whatever it is that she needs. And you're going to know what her needs are. And so I think that's been one of the biggest ones for me as we've, are doing ministry and motherhood, and now navigating that tension of, if you will, that's so new for me, of being a full-time mom, but also being called to ministry, because things have been the busiest for me than they've ever been, even on the ministry side of things. And then on top of that, now I'm a mom, which is such a blessing. So it's just learning to really trust the Lord that he has called me to it, and he's going to provide. And it doesn't have to be by my own strength or, my own doings or my gifts, but it's fully surrendering to him, so that's been the biggest one for me, I'd say.
That's really good. And I feel like for us, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in this episode, I feel like the Lord's so intentional, but I feel like the Lord's really been speaking to me on is idolization. And so it's you said, sometimes whether we're in a season of aloneness or whatever it is, we're going through something, we can be okay, I'm good because I have these people to lean on. But then the Lord's what are you going to do when it's not these people? And I remember my mom telling me Tay, you got to make sure that you aren't making these people your idol. I'm okay because they're with me right here. You know what I mean? We should just be able to lean on the Lord. If it's just us and the Lord, we should be okay, Lord, you're right there. You got me. I don't have to lean on this person to make sure I'm okay. And so that's crazy you spoke to that. But I really want to talk about relationships. And I guess to start, while we're in it right now, I want to talk about like the fear of like being alone, and then like why you think so many people can't be alone and they have to be in relationships, because I think that's a very popular topic right now. I think so many people, like, they're dependent on people to like make them happy, and it's like, if I'm alone, like I did something wrong, like I shouldn't be alone. And so I want to start off with like the fear of being alone and why like the Lord calls us to those seasons.
There's even there's actually a phrase. It's actually called crowded loneliness, and it's the breakdown of being in rooms with people, yet still feeling disconnected, and so I feel lonely. If we're not careful, we think like lonely is like just isolation, and just when I'm by myself and nobody's there. There's actually something, it's literally called crowded loneliness, that we're so around so many people, but yet the depths of those relationships are either so shallow, or even it feels like they're not even existent at all. That there's even a thing that a lot of people deal with called crowded loneliness. And then nowadays with social media and all those things, it's like we have all these like friends or whatever that make us feel like we're part of something. And then you sit down long enough, or you think about it enough, and you realize like, I actually don't have people. Even though I'm typically in rooms of a lot of people, and like, balancing in those feelings and like those moments.
I'd say, and I'll speak from, from for the ladies, and like from a woman's perspective, that I do feel that there is this identity a lot of times that like culture tells you that if you're not desired by a man, or if you're not in a relationship, or if you're not in a specific season, that that there is this like heaviness that like girls and women carry, is what I've seen and realized, that there is this like heaviness that they carry, whether it was like from being in middle school, high school, like from as young as they start to realize like, man, like relationships and all the things that I do think a lot of times loneliness can come from an identity issue of like, you feel that you're enough if you're desired, or if you're in a relationship, or if somebody likes you, or if somebody thinks you're pretty, or all the things. And it's conversations that I've had with many girls, high school girls, as we pastor, and even young adults, like honestly, like from many different ages, that we really a lot of times put our identity in the wrong things, because I think that's what culture tells you should do, that everything you do, the way you dress, the way you do your makeup, the way you carry yourself should be to be desired. And I think that's when we get it all wrong, because the thing is, you are already so desired by the Lord, and you're so called by him. And so many of us hear that, but we don't really like truly receive it. It's hard for us to truly receive that we really are enough, because God created us in his image, and he is our father. And if we have him, we don't need anything else. And I think that concept is really hard for, I'll speak for the ladies, like really hard for ladies to grasp and like truly receive that they are daughters, and that they can operate out of daughtership, not out of just what culture tells you makes you worthy or pretty or cool or whatever, and so I would speak from that side of things, that I think that's where I can see a lot of loneliness and discontentment happen in a lot of like people's lives. I'm sure it happens with men too, So I'd say that.
And I think a lot of it, I think a lot of it, maybe not all of it, but I think a lot of the times like loneliness can connect back to identity. Like a lot of the things you're saying, like striving for certain things that are just not you. And so though you may end up around certain people, you still don't feel connected, or you still don't whatever. And it's just because we're not being real. So though like even for a guy, or a guy's perspective may be like operating or not, like I don't even feel confident, or I don't even feel good about some of the things that I'm saying or the ways that I'm dressing, but I have to, in order to feel or receive a certain, attention or whatever in the group of friends, or from girls, or from whatever it would be. And so in doing so, it's more of a lot of times it's actually more of an identity issue.
Exactly.
And things that we're like walking through on the inside that then cause us to feel lonely. But the root of it would be more of an identity thing.
Exactly.
That's really good. And Pastor Wendy, I remember like the first time I met you, or a few of the first times I met you, I can say like you're like one of the most intentional women I've ever met. Like just to like walk in a room, and it's like you can walk like for instance, I'll walk into a church and some pastors don't even acknowledge you, but I remember the first time or second time, one of the times we met, you literally talked to me for like 3 hours after young adults. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. But one of the things that I really want to talk about is I remember we talked about like your past like relationships and how like after certain ones, like you would feel more broken, you lost your identity, and then there was this one particular relationship. I kind of remember. But I remember you saying that you were in that relationship and you're like, okay, I think this is the one. But then God kept showing you that this isn't the one. And then I don't remember if it was you or him that like ended things. And so then you were in that season of isolation and loneliness. And I just want to talk about like walking through that and like stepping back from a relationship. You're like, Lord, I want this to be the one, but the Lord's like, this isn't the one. This isn't my best for you. And I feel like so many girls, we sit and we settle in these relationships because we want to be desired. Like you said, we want to be loved. And so I just want to talk about that season you walk through.
Yeah. I think.
Is that me?
No. Is this? Yeah, no.
Well, no, because even like, but I think even, I'll let you answer the question, but even like in regards to, no, but like even in regards to like, is this the one or whatever, we broke up at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was, and we laid it down, and for months we didn't talk, we didn't see each other, we didn't eat.
Yeah.
And so even in those moments, it felt like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to talk about y'all's too. But I remember this when you were like, the Lord was like, this is not the one.
Actually, yes. I'll say it was more like a friendship. It's one of those where you're like, man, we're really connecting. Like, what if this could be something kind of thing? And it was funny enough, like right before I met Regan, and this is like something I remember, like, I know we talked about this forever ago, but the biggest thing from that is that I do feel like the Lord was very clear with me. And it was a really like interesting process because I think a lot of times, and this is why I think girl and guy friendships are so dangerous, because even just having a friendship and not having enough boundaries or like having too much communication, whether it's like phone calls or texting, like someone's bound to fall for one another, whether you know, it's you or the other person or both, which is why I think that unless you have like intentional plans for the future, you should be very careful on guy friendships. And same thing for guys. But anywho, so it was a really close friendship, and it was one of those things where it's like, it could be something. But more than anything, I feel that the hardest part of it all was that I do feel like he was going to church because I was there or because I would invite him. But I didn't want to see it, right?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I'm like, no, he really does want to be there, kind of thing. And I remember that I did get wise counsel. I remember talking to one of my best friends and her mom. And I remember she said like, hey, like, listen, like, I don't regret marrying my husband. And she was sharing her story with me. She's like, I don't regret marrying my husband. He has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's like, but I have been the spiritual leader of our home for the past, I still am. And it's been many years. And so she said, you choose the cross that you want to carry. If he never were to change in this area, would you be okay with that? Because a lot of times I think we can look at those situations or situationships or like relationships and like want to assume the best or see the best, and then we're like, they can change, or like, look, but like, you know, you like cling on to this little bit of hope of like delusion or just like being, you know, positive. But the reality is that you cannot be naive or just do it out of the what ifs. Like, what if they do change? And that was like very blunt advice that I really needed to hear, where she said, like, if he were to never truly change or be the spiritual leader in y'all's relationship and y'all get married, is that something you would be willing to carry for the rest of your life? And it was like, ooh, like I needed to hear that because even though it wasn't a very serious relationship at the time, that was the time that I needed to end things. You know what I mean? If you're going to do it, like, do it at the beginning. Don't wait until, you know, y'all are already dating for 3 years and then you're like, oh, wait, he never changed. And so I do think that there's wisdom in that. And so I seek counsel and prayer. And I remember eventually I'm like, Lord, I just need you to give me an answer, right? And my friend had prayed for me like a couple weeks before this camp that I go to. And she prayed that God would build a fortress around my heart that only like anyone that would try to get through would only be able to get through if it was like a God thing and like with God. And she prayed that over me, and like I kept feeling like, man, this isn't it, you know. But you're just like And so finally, I'm at a camp, and I'm like, God, show me. And He gave me the word clean cut, and I didn't even fully understand what that meant. But what that means is like, isn't it like when you like if you break a bone or something, like they do like a clean cut procedure kind of thing. And I was like, okay, Lord. And I felt like He was like, no, this isn't just like a back and forth, play games or try to figure out what this could be. Like, no, this is like a clean cut. There's been seeds that have been sown in His life, but this isn't it. This isn't like your end game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like harsh truth for me to swallow. But I was like, oh, okay, Lord, I'm going to be obedient because I know that You are going to protect me. You're a good Father, and You know things that I will never know. And so I went ahead and was obedient with that and, you know, moved forward. And months and months later is when I actually ended up meeting him. And I remember just thinking, man, if I wouldn't have been obedient months ago, I probably wouldn't have been emotionally available for something that was so good and so God. And so I'm just thankful that I was obedient immediately, and it wasn't delayed obedience where I was like back and forth and, but what if? And it's like, no, if God tells you something, or if you deep down know that this isn't where you need to be, then you need to be obedient because you want to position yourself and be prepared for whatever else that God has next for you, even if it's not a relationship. It could be a new season that God's calling you to, whatever that may be. You just want to be obedient, period, you know? And so that was what that season kind of looked like for me.
Yeah. And then like walk us through like then, okay, you met Pastor Regan.
Yes.
So I guess like from both of y'all's perspective, Pastor Regan, I guess you can talk on, I don't know where you were at in this season.
So I did an internship with our church in 2018 and through 2019. So it's like 2 semesters. The first semester you study here in Lafayette, shameless plug. The second semester you actually live in Mexico. And so I was coming out of that internship and I moved home. So I had just been living in Mexico for like the last 3 or 4 months. It's the Family Church Missions internship, still happening today. And so it changed my life. It changed my heart. Like it really changed the trajectory of my life. I was in college, so I was 2 years I was 2 years into college, and then my third year of college, or what would have been my third year, was this. Came out of this internship, and then we kind of knew who each other were very briefly. Like that summer was the first time we met. So we weren't like high school sweethearts forever and ever. It was probably 3-ish years after I graduated high school. We had a mutual friend kind of thing. And then towards like, that was maybe at the beginning of the summer, towards the end of the summer, she came to our church with a friend that goes to our church. She like slept over at a friend's house and then came to TFC. And that was the first time we met. And so I introduced myself in person, which I feel like that. And I always tell the guys this, like whenever I'm talking to guys, I'm like, dude, please talk to them in person. Don't do the weird thing that people do where it's like, I know you, you know me, I know you know me, but then we're going to see if we're going to actually like address each other in real life kind of thing. I didn't do that. And so introduced myself. We made a few jokes, kind of like had some like initial like, not chemistry, but like it was fun. It wasn't super awkward. We had a few friends around us too, so it wasn't just like us two. Yeah. And then I texted her after that, or got her number after that. Yeah. Or DM'd her.
Something like
slid
that.
up on every single thing she posted after that. And then, so yeah, that's kind of where it started. That was like, so that was 2019. Towards the end of summer, we got married 2021.
Wow.
So now across those things, for probably 6 or so months, we were just friends. And this is like a very general overview, but we were just friends. And then I had just got a job as a youth pastor. Yeah. And so I was like kind of stepping into that. And so she was still going to a different church than the church that I was working at. And then we dated for like a month, and then she broke up with me. We broke up probably 2 months, 3 months. And we we didn't know each other before. We like were intentional to like hang out. We never crossed paths. We didn't have the same friends or any of that. So when we broke up, it was the same way. So like we never saw each other. We never texted like a singular text. Wow. We never messaged, DM'd, nothing. Now, I would stalk her every night. Like that was about, so that was about it. And then a few months later, we ended up crossing paths and talking and having a conversation, apologizing for some things from me to her, from her to me. And then we did something I would recommend is we became friends again. Like, So the first time, like before we ever dated the first time, we became friends and just let it be very organic and very public and group settings and all of those things. And then decided like, hey, I think let's give this a shot. Though it didn't work out the first time, we kind of talk again, and God does a lot of work in our hearts even through like while we were kind of separated, if you were single, while we were dating. And then when we got back together, it was that same thing. We were like, hey, let's hang out for the next, kind of was at the beginning of the summer. So like, hey, let's hang out through the summer. And I think it was towards the end of the summer, I guess that next year, so 2020, if you will. Oh, yeah, because it was all through COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And then start dating after that and then propose and get married from there.
Yeah. So why you broke up with him, Pastor Wendy?
Before I get to that, I do want to add, like when he said we became friends again after we had broken up, I want to add to that, actually be friends, because I do think, let's be real, it is very hard to be friends with someone you already dated. Like, don't be delusional and act like y'all can still be hanging out one-on-one and doing all the things. The reality is like, you got to know yourself. You got to know boundaries. And I remember, funny enough, is like, he's like, yeah, let's be friends. And I'm like, okay, we're going to be friends. And so it's like, obviously, he's still in love with me.
Yeah.
And obviously, I still, like, really liked him. But he's like, yeah, let's be friends. So I'm like, okay, then let's be friends. And so I'll say, like, if you're going to be friends, don't do things with them or anything other, like, special thing that you wouldn't do with an actual friend.
Yeah.
Like,
I think at one point I even called her. I was like, what's going on? And you were like,
and I'm
you
like,
said friends. And I
you
was
said
like,
we're going to be friends.
yeah, but like.
Yeah, but like, I like you. And I'm like, okay, well then, but we're not dating. So
Yeah.
you said you want to be friends, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
it
took
wasn't
that
even-
serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't even like, it wasn't being cold. It wasn't being like whatever. It
No.
was just genuinely, that's what she said. That's what we're going to
Yeah,
do.
like
And
if I
was
leave the
all
function,
right.
the young adult function, I'm not walking out with you.
Yeah.
Like,
'Cause
I'm
I don't do that with friends.
like, bye. Like, good to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be stuck with you in the corner the whole night, just only hanging out with you. I'm going
Yeah.
to be kind
Sure.
and we're going to talk, but I'm going to go and do my own thing, you know? And so I do think, like, mean what you say and do what you, like, say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, don't just, like, be like, yeah, we're going to be friends. And then you're, like, low-key dating without a title.
Yeah.
Like, that's, to me, you're in that gray area that can be so tricky. And I just think you want to fully, like, respect and honor
Yeah.
what was asked. And I think that also led to him being like, okay, wait, like, she just wants to be friends. That just made me realize, like, I want to, like, date again.
Yeah.
You know, like, it made him realize, like, I don't know if friendship is what I want to continue to do for the next 5 months.
Yeah, and that was just the goal. It's just because it had been, I guess, 2 months or so. We
like,
haven't talked
like 2 months
at
and a
all.
half. Yeah.
So it was more of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so-
Let's reunite.
Let's reunite. And then
yeah.
as soon as the chemistry was there, it's like, all right, let's make it official. And
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
We're not
and
gonna play games.
I do want to say, I feel like that is a big thing. Like, they're like, let's be friends.
Yeah.
No, we're not friends. And I guess, Pastor Wendy, talk about, like, to the men, the importance it is to be a man of your word. Because I feel like a lot of men, they have words, but their actions don't line up with their words. So it's like, let's be friends. Why are you texting me? You know what I mean? And so, like, then you realize, okay, I don't want to be friends with her. So how did you stick through with that and just being a man of your word?
Well, she proved to me through the first time we dated that she wouldn't play around. And so like, to kind of answer the breakup question, it was kind of that. It was kind of, we were talking. There was a heavy pursuit. There were certain things I was doing, appreciations I was showing.
Yeah.
And then we kind of made it, like, after we made it official, she was feeling that I was not as, I wasn't pursuing her as hard. I wasn't noticing certain things I used to notice. I wasn't saying certain things. And she was like, was it more of a pursuit thing? And now that for lack of a better word, now that we're dating, like we're together, it's like, I already got it. I don't have to continue those things. She saw some red flags, some things that she wasn't willing to put up with. But I'll even say, like, that was all part of, like, the interest of it was that, like, I knew she wasn't playing games. And I knew that if we were going to do this, it was going to be serious. And so it held me, the actions, speak louder than words kind of things. It kind of held all of that and kept that in the forefront of it all. That it was like, if my actions don't, I know she ain't playing around.
Yeah.
So I would even say to the guys that shows that they would notice it. And I'd say to the girls that when you see that, make proper decisions. Like, do what you got to do. Like, hold your ground. Like, you don't have to be a part of this. You don't have to put up with certain things, even if they're minor. Like, even if it's not major things. Like, you don't. That's the whole point of dating.
Yeah.
The point of dating is that we're testing our alignment.
Yeah.
And as soon as maybe
That's
there's
good.
some things that are not aligned together, then we need
Yeah.
to make a decision and we got to go about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is like we can say, well, if you do this, you know, blah, 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 or I don't put up with this and da, 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 da. But I think very quickly, like what he said, your actions cannot line up to that.
Yeah.
And then that proves that you didn't really mean it, you know? And
Yeah.
I think you truly have to have your identity in Christ. And
exactly
you're not
right.
going to be perfect. Like I did not have it all figured out. I didn't just like, you know, whatever. It was moment by moment, seeking the Lord,
Yeah.
asking for his wisdom and all of those moments, because I knew that I didn't want to waste my time. I didn't want to waste his time. I wanted the Lord's will for my life more than anything else in my life.
Correct.
And I knew that my biggest prayer going in, even into dating, which wasn't like necessarily what I was always thinking or dreaming of.
Yeah.
You know, I was like just trying to pursue the Lord. But I think the biggest thing I prayed for is, God, may the person that I marry help me to fulfill the God divine purpose that you've put in my life since I was in my mother's womb. Like,
Yeah.
would he draw me closer to that purpose that you have created me for?
Yeah.
And that was like always my number one prayer. And I was very intentional to journal with the Lord. I wrote a letter to my future husband.
Yeah.
That I gave to him after we got back from our honeymoon. I like made a list of things that I like wanted in that person. And I will say that the Lord had to teach me very quickly that I was at times expecting perfection. And I just
Yeah.
want to be real.
Yeah.
That does not exist.
Yeah.
You are still you're still experiencing life with a human being.
Yeah.
Is it important for y'all to be equally yoked and for him to be after the heart of God? And the biggest thing I saw in him is that when we would have, you know, instances or conversations, that I would see him say it, that he was
Yeah.
going to do it, but I would see action and effort.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the biggest thing that was so beautiful for me to watch him do, was that, yes, did he fall short? Plenty of times. I did too, you know? But he made effort, and he was actually receptive to our conversations, and he would apologize, and it was genuine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, he
Yeah.
wasn't just trying to say what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because many of us know if they're just trying to say what you want to hear, very quickly you're going to see that they didn't mean it
Yeah.
with their actions. And I feel like with him, I would always see an effort.
Yeah.
And I think that was very beautiful. And I was like, if you're going to be genuine and you're going to put in an effort in the areas where you fall short, I can always work with that. And I
Yeah.
will always, you know, stand with you with that.
Yeah.
And so I think you just got to know the things that you're looking for, but also know, also not expect this like perfect human being, because
Yeah.
that is not fair. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't want someone doing that to you, because
Yeah.
you're not perfect either.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but yeah, I don't know if I fully answered
No, that
the
was really
question.
good.
And that's still, and it carries even into marriage, meaning like the
Yeah.
same things that we established in dating, that we still use to this day, is that just because we're married, once again, obviously we're gonna fall short, and I'm gonna break her heart. I'm gonna do certain things that
Yeah.
like we got to work through and talk through, and it's that we would still just show the effort to change or get better or make it right or whatever
Yeah.
it is, and not just words that
Yeah.
have no actions behind them, you know.
Yeah, that's really good. And I feel like a big thing right now is like red flags. And so I want to talk about like, why do you think our culture is so like caught on like, if it's a red flag, I'm going to run away instead of like the green flags? Because you said
Yeah.
you broke up with Pastor Regan because you saw red flags. So why are we so like caught up on the red flags that we miss the green flags as well?
I wanted to say this earlier because we were talking about other things, that I do think that there's like a commitment issue in our generation. I don't know if it's just our generation. I just feel like I just see it.
Yeah.
Like it's just in culture.
Yeah.
In every area, like small groups, like
Yeah.
hobbies, literally
Yeah.
anything. I feel like there's such a commitment issue because we do have so many new things being thrown our way. It's hard. Like we have things constantly being thrown at us on social media, with friends. People are constantly comparing their lives to other people's lives, other
Yeah.
people's relationships. This like false reality that somebody else's relationship is so much better than yours, or their style is so much better. Like there's this constant hardships in our generation where people are like truly cannot be content or stay committed to where
Yeah.
they're at. Even with churches, like, oh, well, that church, you know, is
Yeah.
spiritually feeling me more than this church, or, you know, they do this and my church doesn't. And it's like, there is commitment issues. And I feel like that's one of the hardest things that I have seen. Like, people just don't want to be faithful where God's put them. People don't want to be faithful or see God's blessings for what they are. And something that I've like said so many times, because it's really done a work in my life, but it's the reality that the enemy will always turn your blessings and turn them into burdens in your life. Like, literally the things that God's provided for, whether it's that relationship, those friendships, that church, those pastors, like whatever. And you start to see them as burdens, or you start to see them as like not for what they are. And you're not operating out of gratitude for the Lord or being faithful in that. And then the same thing, like the Lord can turn your burdens and bring joy out of it, and like bring so much fruit and light in those things that the enemy try to use to kill, steal, and destroy your life. And so I would say like commitment issues are like the biggest things I have seen in regards to like red flags. And I think that's why we focus so much on the red flags, is because we're always wanting an excuse to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
What's next? Well, I don't want to be tied down. Like, I want to like see my options. And it's like, even with plans, I've seen, that was even something in my life that the Lord had to deal with me on, is like, no, like if you say you're going to like be there, if you say you're going to go do that, like you've already committed to that, like do it.
Yeah.
Let your yeses mean yes and your no's mean no, because life really is so busy and there's so many things going on that there's always an excuse for us to justify our lack of faithfulness or commitment in whatever area of your life that God's called you to, whether it's like even your podcast. I'm so proud of you that you have stayed faithful and committed to what God's called you to. And it's not just like, okay, well, this is a fun hobby and like, what's next?
Yeah.
And it's like, the Lord's like, no, you need to stay even when it gets harder, even when you feel like it doesn't look like what you thought, or it doesn't, you know, like whatever God's called you to, stay faithful, be committed, and don't just leave when it gets hard, you know? And I think that's what I would feel like causes people to focus on the red flags, is like
commitment.
Yeah, like what's next?
Yeah.
It gives you like opportunities to leave maybe areas that you don't need, the Lord hasn't even told you to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, there's a red flag at this church or with this person. Like, I'm gone. And it's like, have you even prayed about that? Like, have you sought the Lord if that's something you even need to do?
Wow.
But you take those things and those negative things that are a part of life and human nature, and you like justify it so that you don't feel bad for your disobedience. Like, you're just like, oh, like, but they did this to me, and like that person, and like I'm even so thankful like how kind you are, and you're like, you saw me, but it's like, what if I would have been distracted and wouldn't have seen you?
Yeah.
Like any of those things, like I'm sure I have fallen short plenty of times. I'm sure you have, like he has. And it's like, I would hope that people wouldn't take our human like nature in us and our like mistakes and wouldn't just run with it and be like, okay, well, Atea didn't tell me, hey, red flag. Like, I'm not going to her podcast. You know, like, and it's like, people do that so much. Like, they don't want to see the best in people or like assume the best, or even just give it to the Lord. So anyway,
good.
I just went on a rant.
No, that's so good.
That's what I feel like is it's hard for people to really understand that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day too, healthy people make healthy relationships, and it becomes like that. I got to check myself. I got to check my heart. And so in life, that there may be times we analyze certain things, but I think in certain situations it's good. Yeah. And I think if I'm in like I'm in a healthy state of mind and life and habits and like the things that God's called me to, and I'm walking these things out, and I begin to see red flags, I think we should notice them and operate on them and make proper decisions, even the hard ones.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I don't know if red flags or green flags are good or bad or whatever the thing is that culture may make it seem. I think it's, at the end of the day, like, I have to assess myself. Yeah. I have to check my heart. I have to see where I'm at, and then operate from a place, of like a healthy place and a healthy state of mind, a healthy, spiritual life. Yeah. And then I'm able to make wiser choices. And then that, to be healthy would mean that my life's healthy, my lifestyle is healthy, that my community's healthy, that I have pastors or leaders or mentors in my life. I have friendships, I have peers, I have boundaries. Like, I have certain things. And so when I'm operating in this way, I'm able to notice certain things.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to make decisions accordingly.
Yeah, you're not emotionally led.
on those kind of things.
That's really good. Another thing I have a question on, I'm just asking all the questions, is so from both of y'all's perspective, actually, because Pastor Wendy broke up with you, and then Pastor Wendy, you had to let that other relationship go. So in those times, how do you protect your heart when getting into another relationship and just making sure, like, Lord, I don't want this to happen again? And yeah, how do you protect your heart?
We said it earlier. I think it's going to keep coming up. I think it's a key factor in so many things in life is identity. It's understanding who I am. It's understanding who God says that I am. And even through like those moments of like singleness, like when we broke up, we didn't know we were getting back together. So like that was hard. It was laying that down, and then to God be the glory, we did, and that was amazing, if you will. But like we didn't know that then, and so it's just making sure that while I am single, that at the end of the day, it's an opportunity to steward my individual personal relationship with God. And so I would say through that and through understanding who I am and those kind of things, and that whatever's happened in the past, like getting through it, working through it, healing in whatever area I need to heal and get myself ready for. That way, if God were to bring something else into my life, I'd be ready for it. And if that's in 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years, it doesn't matter. Meaning, God's timing is far different than ours, and a lot of times, thank you, Jesus, for that. And so I think it'd just be more so that in those moments that it's, you got to be willing to open yourself up. You got to be willing to, take a step whenever it comes to get into a relationship. And there's always opportunities for heartache and heartbreak and all those things. However, it's more so about, can I get myself into a very healthy spot and my identity, know who I am, know who God says I am before, so that I can kind of discern and make certain decisions.
Yeah, that's really good.
Right. And your question was like how to guard your heart after the breakup when you're going into a new relationship, or just in general?
I would say after and going into a new relationship.
Going into a new relationship.
Or like discerning discerning if this is something the Lord has.
Right. Especially when you've already been like burned or it didn't work out. I think that's a great question, and I'm laughing because we keep bringing up the breakup. He's like, just adding salt to it.
What about our marriage? Can we talk about our marriage? Our marriage is really good.
I'm laughing as I'm like, she's like, so when you broke up with him and you broke his heart, no, I'm kidding.
How did you feel that?
Yeah, like how did it feel? Just kidding. No, that's so great. Because I know so many people are walking through that. I'll say, going from, let's say, like what you said, from when that situation didn't work out to then with Regan, I think it's just trusting in the character of God beyond anything else or anyone else or the person. And I'll explain what I mean by that, because I think I had to remind myself that the Lord is our defender, and he is like the best father and the best, he really is just the best, and he sees things that we will never see. And that's one thing that I had to constantly remind myself of, man, like this really seemed like it could have worked out and it didn't. That is so disappointing. But it's also trusting that like God has his best for you. And I don't know if you've ever seen that cheesy image where it's like the flowers or like even the teddy bear where God's like, give me this. And she's like, no, but like I want it. And he has like a huge teddy bear behind his back. And it's like God has his best, and he surpasses like like anything that you ever could have dreamed or imagined. And so he just wants you to believe him and like trust him and have faith that he will, and like know that who his character is, like he is good and he is so faithful. And so I remember when it didn't work out, I'm like crying, we're so dramatic. And I'm like crying on the floor. I'm like, man, I'm so disappointed. And like, but at the same time, I was like, God, thank you that like you see things that I don't see. You saw things in private that I didn't even know. Like this person could have tried to like deceive me and make it seem a certain way and like paint a pretty picture for me. And you have all these emotions, but like at the end of the day, Lord, you're in rooms that I'll never be in. Yeah. And you see true intentions. And I just have to trust that he's a good father that has a good like, path for me, that I have to like be obedient because he's so good and he knows so much more than I do. And so I think that's something I kept reminding myself of, and just like, hey, like, you didn't need a boyfriend then, you don't need a boyfriend now, like, you gonna be all right. Like, you got the Lord, and you just gotta trust his timing. And, like, I would just say, when you're in that season, I wouldn't focus on, like, the next. I would be very guarded and, like, very intentional to be prayerful even before you even, like, start anything, just because rebounds are a real thing. But when you get used to having someone to, like, constantly be talking to, and then all of a sudden you don't have that, it's like, meh. And it's like the Lord's like, no, talk to me. Like, until I'm ready to share you and, like, you be married and, like, have all your time, whatever. Like, I'm a jealous God. Like, I want all of you. I want all your time. And I'm, like, working something in you for whenever the time is right, whenever that will be, whether it's in a couple months or years to come or whenever. And so I think that was, like, a great reminder for me of just, like, okay, I know that he's my defender. And there is things that ended up coming about, like, later on after I was already, like, obedient and completely disconnected from that I found out about, that I was like, man, I'm so glad I was so obedient to him, because man, this would have really hurt if I wasn't obedient. Like, if I would have found out what I know now and I wouldn't have been obedient, this would have just been so, like, hurtful, and I would have been distraught. But I'm glad I was obedient when I was, because now this is just like, I could shake this off, and it's like, okay, Lord, you are just, like, proving, you know, that you have your best for me. And then obviously, like, I meet him, and something I told him so many times when we were dating, and then even when we got married, is like, man, like, when we were talking, you were, like, the best, and and it always felt like we were in a movie, and, like, truly my dream come true. And then when we started dating, it was like, okay, you're even better than when we were talking. And then when we got married, it was like, man, you have surpassed even, like, what I would have expected you to be as a husband. Like, you are truly, and he continues to do that to this day. Like, we're 5 years in, and, like, he continues to blow me away, and I continue to, like, love watching, you know, the way that he's developing, and, like, who he is as a man of God. And now he's a dad, and, like, getting to watch him be a dad. And God really is so faithful. And I'm like, I always say this, I'm like, I just want to be more like him. And it's so beautiful, because me and my friend, Sash, my mentor, like, we always say, like, it's so funny how a lot of times God pairs you with someone that has, like, different strengths and weaknesses. So, like, his strengths, I'm like, I don't have that like you do. Like, I just want to be like you. And he's like, well, I just want to be like you in this way. And so it really is so beautiful, because we just are seeing Christ in one another. And that's really what we desire. It's like, that's literally what we're seeing in one another. It's like, man, the areas that you are so like Christ and that you are so strong in, like, I desire that. And it's so beautiful, because we do get to see the heart of God through one another, and marriage is really beautiful. And now that we have a daughter, and I watch the way he treats her and the way he parents her, and I'm like, choose wisely, ladies. Like, it's not just about you, it's about also your future kids. And so anyway.
No, that's so good. It's so good. And I do want to talk about, I feel like so many of us, like, we can be free, but we can still be bound, bound to our past, bound to trauma, bound, like, the Lord sets us free, but we're still bound to those things. And I guess a question for a person that, like, feels like they're still bound, like, Lord, you set me free, but I still feel like I'm in this stronghold. How do you, like, logically every single day walk out in freedom and not be bound to your mistakes, bound to your past? And so,
So the Bible says that whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And so I think what you're kind of asking is that, though he set me free, why do I still struggle with some of these things? One of the things I always tell people whenever they're walking through something, or they're believing for freedom in a certain area, habit, mindset, labels, identity, whatever it is I always tell them, I said, the way you speak about yourself matters. Like, the power of your words is huge in a process of finding freedom. Meaning, the way that I'm, like, whatever it is that I've gotten through, maybe it's an identity thing. Like, we're talking in the field of relationships. Maybe it's something that's hurt me. Maybe it's something that was done to me. Maybe it's mistakes I've made or boundaries that I crossed. I have to, one, take the time to bring it to the Lord. I have to probably would take the time to bring it to a leader, mentor, pastor, depending on the situation and the depths of whatever it is. And then once I decide, you know what, God, I believe and I feel and I receive that you have set me free from this, it's that now from this point on, I speak that. And I think so many people speak things over themselves that God has set us free from. And so then we end up either convincing ourselves. I just think there's power in our words. Like one of the things we personally like hold each other to is that we don't claim negative things in the sense of even like, oh my gosh, my anxiety flares up or my whatever. Like we don't necessarily struggle with something like that, but like that specifically. But let's say I were to tell her like, oh my gosh, my anxiety's like through the roof. She would look at me. She's like, it's not your anxiety. I'm like, you're right. You're right. And so it's the same thing is that I'm not saying be fake either. It's that I can be real without claiming and speaking things over my life. So I could say, hey babe, I'm feeling very anxious.
Yeah.
That is true. I am feeling anxious. I am not anxious though. I am not someone who claims anxiety.
Yeah.
Or like, man, my depression, whatever. I'm like, stop saying my depression. Like stop receiving this. Like even when we get sick, like we don't say like, my allergies, my asthma. Like I struggle with asthma. Like that's something that I used to struggle with as a kid. Not anymore because I'm free in the name of Jesus. And sometimes I speak those things while like, it's like, you're free. How long have you been free? Like 45 minutes because I ran earlier and but I'm free. I'm speaking this. I'm declaring I'm free from these things. So I think a lot of times whenever we go through hard things, you have to first and foremost address it and walk through, like I said, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Finding like setting up certain things and getting delivered, if you will, from those things, finding freedom, experiencing freedom that can only come from Jesus Christ. And then once it is that, you know what, I am proclaiming that I have been freed from this, I have to set up certain boundaries. And I have to, one of those things that we need to set a boundary on is our tongue, is the way that we speak about ourselves, our situations, our heartaches, our heartbreaks, so that moving forward, we're able to operate in a place that is from freedom. But not, it's like, I've been free from this, but like I bring this up every single conversation. It's like, are we free from it? Because I believe that you were. Like there's friends of mine that I walked through things with them, and I'm like, no, you were free from this. You've just allowed yourself to keep this a part of your life for whatever reason, maybe just from like familiarity, but you need to start proclaiming these certain things. You need to start separating from these certain situations and experiences. So I would say that.
That's really good. It's really good. And to hop back into relationships and just to wrap this up, I guess I have like 2 more questions for y'all. So logistically, what are we looking for in a spouse? The Lord says that you will know them by your fruits. What fruits should we be looking for?
Okay. You? Go for it.
I think.
What are some good fruits?
So like we're actually teaching right now. We're in a series, if you will, on dating. And one of the things we're talking about in relationships is dating is important, but dating has a destination, and the destination is marriage. And the reason dating is important is because marriage is significant, and that we have to get to this place when we're dating, we're not just looking for chemistry, we're trying to commit to covenant, is what the Bible would call a marriage. And so that's why we said it earlier, like dating tests alignment. Dating is what, it's like, okay, it may start with attraction. When I first saw Wendy in person, I don't know anything about her. Truly know nothing about her. I thought she was attractive, and I was obsessed with her from the jump. And I asked her the other day, or whenever it was, I was like, did I ever like come off like I just wanted to be your friend? She was like, not even a little bit. And and so, but that was just attraction. That's not enough. And so then we start texting, and then we hung out a few times in some group settings, and I was like, man, she's really cool, or man, she's really genuine. Man, she's really sweet. Man, she's really kind. And so I was like, okay, I'm starting to see certain things. Well, then we went and got a coffee. And then we went and like over time, we start to get to know each other, even before we're dating. But like we were talking, we were pursuing each other to see if we should even start dating. And then through dating, it's all of it has a purpose and it all has a destination. And if you don't know why you date, you could just date anyone. But when I know what's the point of me dating somebody and things that I should be looking for that I find in the Word of God, it allows me to date with a purpose. And I would say a big thing, to answer your question directly, that you should see, I think consistency is a huge thing. You should see a consistency across their friendships, their family relationships, and everybody's is unique and dynamic. Consistency in their private life, consistency in their public life. Like I just think those things matter. That as I'm getting to know you, I think at the first and foremost, I would say the foundation should be faith. I'd say it has to be faith. It has to be, and faith is the foundation. It's not an accessory. It's not like just something that we sometimes can sprinkle into the relationship. Like it all comes back to that, and then because really what it does is it gives the boundaries. It gives the guidelines. They have a book called the Bible that we get to refer to whenever we want to do. It's like, no, it gives us a framework that we're able to look back on. So I would say consistency, and then a foundation on faith has got to be your top thing that you're looking for, if you will.
I would say, like, you got to be equally yoked. That's number one. And I think something I really admired about Regan was that he did represent the gentleness and love of Jesus so well to me, the grace of God so well to me. He knew his word, and at the end of the day, like I said, he cared deeply to be better and to be more like Jesus. And there was this like beautiful repentance, like quick to repent, and to just be real with me about him, that I really admired. And so I'd say you don't have to be perfect, but I really respected how real he was and how quick to repent, and like just this genuineness about him, that he did want to be better and that he continued to pursue me and pursue the Lord and to show me, like you said, the fruit of the Holy Spirit and like Jesus. And he did that well, and he showed it to me through his actions and the way he treated me. And so I'd say that was like a huge one for me that like really blew me away. And I would say too, like, just to keep it real, yes, all those things, showed me that he was someone I wanted to marry and someone that I wanted to continue to pursue. But I'm gonna just be real, like, at least for me, I'm like, you need to be attracted to the person that you are pursuing. And I know that's so duh, but like, I think a lot of times, like, we say all these things like, they need to be like this and they need to be that. Absolutely, that should be the top of the list. But you also need to like get along with the person and like be able to giggle and like just have this, because there's a lot of times that life is going to throw a lot of things at you, and you have to be able to laugh together. You have to be able to be attracted to one another. That's important too. I think sometimes we could say all these like Christian things that are so important, but we sometimes leave out like the part where it's like, no, like you also have to feel like there's chemistry. And for me, a big one for me was like, I want to feel like butterflies in my stomach when I hang out with him. And I'm a very like goofy, whatever, crazy person. And I don't know, it takes a lot for me to get nervous with someone or to like feel, whatever. And I remember that's something I felt with him off the bat. Like, he would make me nervous, and like, every single time we'd like leave a date, I'd feel more in love with him. We're like, I like him even more. How is that even possible? And like that continued on even in our marriage, just continuing to pursue one another and like feel excited when we show up to places, and like I show up later and I see him, like, like that was important for me. Like, that might not be important for everybody, and like you may not care about that, but it's like I loved that. I was like always a hopeless romantic and like whatever. And so you got to be realistic, but at the same time, I do think that the Lord cared about those little desires in my heart, and it was something that I found in him and like loved. Like, I loved his style, and like we had things that we had in common. We love to go run errands together. Like, I love that about him. Like, not everybody is like that, but I love that we can go run errands, and like he doesn't get annoyed if I'm just like shopping, and like that's just something I love. So like, find things that you like actually like about that person, and have things in common.
And all that comes from like the friendship that we built before. And then,
which I'm so thankful that God did that.
And then through the friendship, okay, is there something more? Maybe there is something more. And then I was quick to realize there was definitely something more, at least on my end. And so then I was starting to see those like that consistency of who she was. She was very confident in who God called her to be. And I would say she didn't waver was like a huge thing that like judge her by the fruits, if you will, like you brought up. Like,
I'm like, you better not be a snake in the grass. I'm going to get you.
She didn't waver.
I'm going to get you.
There were so many things like, there was even there. I can remember a few different times where she'd bring something up. I was like, wait, what? I did that? I didn't even realize. I'm so sorry. Like I didn't.
I'm like, in my journal, I wrote last night. He made me mad this time.
It was just one of those things like from me, from the guy's perspective, it was like she knew who she was. She was confident in who God's called her to be, and she wasn't willing to waver on all those things.
And my last question for you, Pastor Regan, I have one collectively for both y'all, but for you.
Okay.
For a man, the man is the leader. He's meant to lead. What role does spiritual maturity play in dating, and just seeing that he's spiritually mature and can lead you?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's what I've said it a few times, but that's the point of dating. Dating is to see and assess and make a wise decision of the person I'm going to marry. I would say it's outside of Jesus being the Lord of your life, the next biggest decision for those who decide to get married is the person that you marry.
Yeah.
It's the greatest influence in your life. Yeah. And so that's the whole point of dating. And as a man, as the leader of the home, I'd say spiritual maturity is a huge part. I would say life maturity is a huge part. I would say all forms of maturity. The Bible uses the word stewardship that we try to use pretty regularly, and it's all about whatever God's given us, let's steward it well. And so I think as men, I have 4 brothers, and then the way my dad raised us, I'm kind of like a man's man, like kind of a suck it up kind of mentality in a lot of ways. And then now I have the most precious daughter, and so it's softening my heart probably on a lot of things. But even still in that, I think there's so much good that comes from that. Is that like the man's called to be the man, like the whole man up thing and those kind of things. Like I'm for a lot of that stuff. It's just and I think a lot of it is that stewardship of the role that God's called us to play. Yeah, I heard somebody say this way that my goal as a husband is to suffer more than my wife does. Mm. And so the way I kind of interpreted that, and that's not necessarily so close. It's not necessarily maybe from like a Bible verse, but I love the concept of that, of being that leader, is that I want to suffer. I want to feel the weight of life more than she does. I want to feel the weight of finances more than she does. And every relationship's different. Yeah. But just overall in life, like I want to suffer more than my wife does. And I just think spiritual maturity and what God's done in you.
What encouragement would y'all give to someone navigating dating while being faithful to the Lord?
That's good.
It's really good. Like somebody in a relationship, you're saying?
In and out of a relationship, I guess.
Yeah. The Bible says that those who wait on the Lord, he will renew his strength. And I just think how you wait matters. I think I can wait, but I can wait grudgingly. I can wait with a bad attitude. I wouldn't say that that's very honoring to God. Yeah. Though, yes, I am waiting. It's like I think how we wait matters. And so I think for anybody not in a relationship, the way that you wait matters. How do you wait? Or you wait expectantly, joyfully, secure in your identity, in who God's called you to be, and whether that be in a relationship or single, I still honor that God has the best for me no matter what. Yeah. And so how I wait, matters. And then I think if you're dating, I would say you need to set up proper things in your life that help you, understand, why am I dating? What's the point of dating? Do we have guardrails? Do we have boundaries? Do we have mentors? Do we have people? Yeah. What does our, dating situation look like that we should, and I think it's on us to set up certain things. And I would say there's a lot of times that if we wait till the moment to set up certain boundaries, it's too late. I think you need to set up certain boundaries before the pressure gets there. Yeah. Before the heat of a moment. And then that way, if you get into the moment, it's like, I don't know if it's a word, but I've pre-decided that this is the way that this would go, or this is what we're not going to do, or this is where, where we draw the line. And so, I'd say that I think setting up healthy boundaries and, connections and community and people in my life to help best we possibly can.
It's really good.
I'd say for me, making sure that you keep him first and that you go to him first, which I think I was not prepared for how much I'd have to navigate what my time with Jesus looked like once I got married. And obviously, because even when you're dating, you still go back to your house and in your room, and you get that you get a lot of alone time and personal time with the Lord. And I was not prepared for me having to like re-look at and reprioritize my alone time with Jesus. Because now obviously you don't just have your room. Like you don't just go home. You live together and it's the best. But it's also like navigating, like I still need to take things to the Lord first.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in a relationship, and I still need to navigate like being faithful to the Lord first before anything or anyone else, including my husband, because at the end of the day, it blesses him when I'm intentional to, sorry y'all, I'm recovering from a cold, but when you are intentional to take those things to the Lord and like not let yourself just snap out of emotion, or you take things like so raw to the person that you're dating, and then next thing you know, you had the most unproductive argument and you just spoke out of like emotion and your own, you know, feelings versus like, no, you still need to be faithful to him first, because it's so easy now to come to this like human, you know, person that you are so in love with and so connected to, and spend time with the Lord with them. And you know, it could be so easy to bring so much to them, when in reality is like, you still need to be bringing things to the Lord first, not just in general, first, and have your prayer time and have your time to just be real and raw with Jesus. And then like the Lord will give you wisdom on how to bring that thing up or go into that conversation, you know? And so I think that is something that people don't talk about it. Like it is hard. And you do have to relook at and reprioritize your time. And then when you have babies, you have to do that all over again. It's like, okay, my Jesus time looks different, but it still has to be number one. Yeah. So I'd say that.
Well, that's really good. I'm so grateful for y'all. Thank y'all for coming on the podcast. Thank y'all for leading so well, like young adults. I remember my first time going to senior high. I'm like, oh my Lord, I graduated high school 3 years ago. It's crazy. But like now it's like becoming a young adult. And it's like, Lord, I truly don't know where I would be without young adults and without community and without leadership.
Same.
And so just thank y'all for being such good leaders and leading so well. And we're so grateful for y'all. And thank y'all for coming on the podcast.
We're so proud of you. This is awesome. And, you know, I know that this is your heart and our heart too, that we pray that this blesses someone, and that, you know, as the truth in the Word of God, you know, reaches people's ears, that God gives you the strength to really apply, you know, his wisdom and his word, because you'll never regret being obedient to Jesus. You'll never regret saying yes to him, and you'll never regret doing it the first time he asks you to do it. But anyway, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank y'all so much. Y'all are awesome. Well, bye, guys.